In this video, I'll be posing a question: have contemporary teen dramas given marginalised groups a voice? To argue this question, I have chosen a cross-platform case study of a teen drama on Netflix. I will delve deeper into different marginalised groups they represent and conclude if this particular show has given them a voice. I have chosen sex education as my case study. It is largely popular and have many versatile characters in the series. I'll be applying two concepts to this study, which are representation and fandom. These concepts will help me analyse the issues I want to investigate by looking into how the fans have reacted to the representation of the characters and if it has impacted them in a positive way. The aim of this essay is to find out if my case study has given a voice to marginalised groups and help audience members who aren't aware of a particular sexuality or experience understand what it is. I hope to find out if this case study starts a ripple effect which provides awareness, acknowledgement, and change that the group wants, and if it rubs off on other TV series. Sex Education's first season was released back in January 2019, which led on to a second season in 2020. During this time, historical and cultural contexts that have happened around this period have been movements such as Me Too and Time's Up. Me Too was founded by a woman called Tarana Burke. She first started the non-profit back in 2006 when it was called Just Be Inc. This was the start of the Me Too movement. But it didn't blow up till actress Alyssa Milano tweeted back in 2017, "If you've been sexually harassed or assaulted, write Me Too" as a reply to this tweet. Tarana Burke, the founder, remarks more than 66,000 users replied, and the tweet kicked off an online tidal wave overnight. The cultural context in relevance to Me Too has changed society. It has now given victims of sexual assault a place to turn to and a platform to speak up and find their voice. A big cultural change is that it has given filmmakers opportunities to create films around the Me Too movement without the fear of their film getting shut down. One of the first films based around Me Too is called Bombshell, which coincides with the Roger Ailes case. Once the film came out, Megyn Kelly, who Charlize Theron played in the film, and a couple of other people who were affected by Roger Ailes' actions, sat down with them and discussed the film's impact and accuracy of it.
The Me Too movement came out of this, and you were one of the pivotal parts of that. If you had burned your star, in 2006, 2007, like I did, we wouldn't be here today. We've moved into a place where we're now talking about it.
Then, in 2018, a movement called Time's Up came along, which took huge inspiration from the Me Too movement and the allegations of sexual abuse against Harvey Weinstein. Time's Up was started by over 300 Hollywood celebrities who campaigned against sexual assault in the workplace. The movement was there to raise awareness and money for the cause, which funded legal defence for the less fortunate. One of their first movements was the 75th Golden Globes, where everyone wore black and had a white rose to protest sexual misconduct in Hollywood. Since the protest, it has raised over $22 million for their legal defense fund. Women have been fighting for their rights since the 19th century. One of the most important historical movements was the suffragettes. Women fought for their right to vote and to not be seen as second-class citizens. The cultural impact the suffragettes had was incredible for its time. Women who have been repressed for years dare to act as the equals of men. Movements such as suffragettes has given women a voice, and with each movement brings awareness and change to issues that women face in society. Researching into historical and cultural contexts has brought to light that teen dramas weren't the first voice for marginalised groups. The concepts I've chosen for this essay are representation and fandom. Fandom is a term which describes communities built around a shared popular culture that gives them enjoyment. Representation is to try and reflect reality in a realistic way or to represent an essence of a character or experience. Representation is also people's views on particular characters. Deborah Cameron's book, Chapter 33, Gender Identity, looks into how 5 men perceive and represent gay men. The representation of them is that they see them as alien and are puzzled about their homosexuality. They remark on an event called Gable and quote, "The question is, who wears the boutonniere and who wears the corsage? Flip for it, or do they both just wear flowers because they're fruits?" This is one opinion on how gay men are represented in society. It heavily links to a scene in Sex Education where Eric gets taunted and beaten up for wearing drag.
A film of a friend, I'm not.
These concepts are relevant to my case study because it helps bring back to my question on whether it grants marginalised groups a voice. Using concepts in an essay is an effective way of finding an answer, as it helps to focus on two key areas of the case study. By using representation, I'll be able to focus on how the characters represent a particular group and if fandoms respond positively to the representation. Analysis. Amy's story takes a turn after she gets sexually assaulted on the bus. A man masturbates and ejaculates on her jeans, and when she shouts about it, everyone on the bus looks away. After the experience, she brushes it off and says it isn't a big deal, but the trauma from the experience slowly builds up, which in turn affects her lifestyle and the relationships with the characters. It's not till she is in detention that she speaks up about how much this has affected her.
Think about me. Stop fighting over a stupid boy!
Ames, why are you crying?
Because I can't get on the bus.
The importance of her character during the series is to raise awareness on sexual assault and that it shouldn't be measured by pain or trauma because every story matters. What Laura Nunn, the creator of the show, is trying to get across is that you're not alone, which is why the bus scene was such a poignant moment in the series because all the girls waited for Amy at the bus station to make her feel safe. Victims of sexual assault need that community and are reminded that somebody is always there for them. Since that episode aired, fandoms have gone crazy for it. There's been fan art, video edits, t-shirts, and so many more that the fans have made to contribute to that moment. But most importantly, it has given girls and boys a voice to talk to people about their past experiences. The representation has made the audience aware that sexual assault doesn't have to be big to matter. People from all backgrounds have realised since watching season 2 that they have also been sexually assaulted, but because of the lack of communication on the topic, they've either brushed it off or thought it wasn't big enough to report to the police. During season 2, Sex Education introduced an asexual character called Florence. She is confused with her feelings and asks Otis why she doesn't have a desire to have sex. Otis responds with the usual accusations around their sexuality, such as, "You haven't found the right person and you're not ready yet," which is a misrepresentation of the sexuality itself. Later in the series, Florence talks to Jean, a sex therapist, about her confusion and her feelings of feeling broken. Jean tells her what asexuality is and responds with the statement,
Sex doesn't make us whole. And so, how could you ever be broken?
Having this character in the show is a big step for asexuality representation. It meant a lot to the fandom and ace community. A YouTuber did a whole video on this representation, and in the comments there was a big positive influx about the scene and how progressive it is for them. Asexuality rarely has representation in TV shows other than BoJack Horseman and Shadowhunters. Even though it wasn't the first voice, it added to something bigger. However, some TV series can get representation wrong. Jughead, who is a character from the Archie comics, was a big representation of asexuality. His sexuality was canon throughout the comics. However, when they turned it into a Netflix series called Riverdale, Jughead didn't identify or even talk about being asexual, and his character has been dating Betty from season 1 onwards. The writer promised the fans that they would make Jughead asexual as the series progresses, but they're now on their 4th season and Jughead is still dating Betty. They messed up a character that so many people admire and was a pinnacle in the ace community, which makes Sex Education more impactful for their representation, as they aren't shying away from this. In conclusion, what I have discovered from my findings and research is that Sex Education did not create a voice for marginalised groups, they added to an existing one. The historical and cultural context helped me understand that Me Too and Time's Up were the ones who created a voice, particularly for sexual assault victims. The question I posed was, have contemporary teen dramas given marginalised groups a voice? I engaged with the issues central to my question by focusing on who created the voice. I looked into not only the case study, but movements and discussions prior to the release of the series, which helped me find an answer to my question. Reflecting on my essay, I would say that I was semi-successful in my process. I got a good amount of research on Time's Up and Me Too, which helped me with my analysis of sex education. However, I focused mostly on sexual assault victims and movements around that, when I should have focused more on marginalised groups as a whole, which have given me a clearer answer. I should have looked at more academic and scholarly articles and books and got a broader amount of research. This essay offers scope for further and more in-depth research, as I have only scraped the surface. I could look further into other teen dramas and see if they had any impact with marginalised groups, or even focus more in depth on sex education and pick it apart more to get a well-rounded answer. Looking through my research and my essay, I understand that sex education wasn't the one that created the voice, but added to it. However, they have created a voice on a new platform, which is Netflix, and made that voice more heard.